Welcome to this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. On today's program, we're going to spend a little time out here at the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. You know, this unique resource is headquartered here in the city of Suffolk and offers a great opportunity for you to come out and experience nature at its finest. On today's program, we're going to highlight what's taking place out here at the swamp during the fall and winter months, where there's still plenty of life for you to experience. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene. We're joined now by Dolores Freeman, Visitor Services Specialist here at the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. And we're here today to talk about the fact that the swamp is open year-round. So,
yes.
And in fact, you think of the environment and things here, that everything's happening during the summer and the spring. That's not the case, and I think that's one of the things we're going to try to dispel that myth, so to speak, on today's program. And Dolores, again, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
One thing about the swamp, and it was an interesting study that was done, and the information was recently released, about the economic impact the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge has on the city of Suffolk and surrounding area. And I believe the study was from fiscal year 2011. Is that correct?
Yes.
If you could talk about kind of some of the findings of that study and the impact that this unique gem that we have here really kind of mushrooms out into the area.
Yes, it does. In a period of time, economic hard times now, this was some good news for our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
The Great Dismal Swamp was in a study of 92 of the 550 national wildlife refuges across the country.
Right.
And they looked at the economic impact on the surrounding communities, and they defined the surrounding communities as within 50 miles of the refuge. Mm-hmm. And we were happy to see that the benefit to our local neighbors here was, for every $1 that was appropriated for the refuge, there was a return to the communities of $1.70, which meant that it was $2.4 million
Right.
of benefit in 2011 for this local community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good news. That's good news for everybody.
Yes.
And what they looked at was they looked at the impact on restaurants, on filling stations, on lodging, mm-hmm. on rental services. And those are the type of local businesses that really benefit being near a national
Sure.
wildlife refuge. Now, across the country, the total economic benefit in 2011 from the 92 national wildlife refuges was $2.4 billion,
Right.
which is a tremendous input.
Indeed.
And these are monies that come into the economy, green monies, so to
Right.
speak. They are not damaging local habitats.
Sure.
They are actually increasing the quality of life in an area. So we were happy to see that, and again, it was good news. On the downside,
mm-hmm.
that was 2011,
Right.
and now the numbers for 2013 don't. The National Wildlife Service, for refuges, we have lost $50 million
mm-hmm.
in funding just in those 2 years.
Right.
With $33 million coming just last year because of sequestration.
Sure.
So even though we're providing these wonderful benefits for the communities, with the decrease in funding, which brings decreasing staffing, it's going to be tough on us to keep up that
Yes.
level of input over the next several years.
Right.
Hopefully we can work out something and get back on the right track. But, this is a problem for the
Sure.
whole country, so,
mm-hmm.
We're not just saying that it's a local negative.
Right.
This is something that America's dealing with.
Indeed. And I think one of the things, as far as to maybe help that number tick up, is the fact of getting people to realize the resource that is here. And of course, it's not just the local area. I mean, the Great Dismal Swamp is a draw nationally as far as people. It's uniquely placed, and I think we've talked about that in the past when it comes to bird migration, as far as the
Yes.
location we are mm-hmm. and the draw that is for people there, and all the great
mm-hmm.
events that happen in, shall we say, the greener times of the year, with again to the foliage that we're talking about. But let's talk about that for just a second, and the fact that just because, well, okay, the trees are, we've gone through the beautiful color stage, which again, we still have some of that out there, but just because things are brown doesn't mean there's not life and activity happening here. You could talk about what the fall and the winter means for the swamp and what experiences are still really there for people to come and take advantage of.
Well, It's my favorite time of the year. I love the winter here. In the summertime, our vegetation is so thick and we have so much undergrowth, and you've got just walls of green, especially if you're hiking down one of the trails. It's difficult to see into the forest, but that is just not the case now. You know, once that vegetation drops down and onto the forest floor, you can see way into the forest. And that increases your opportunities to see wildlife. And much of the wildlife is still out and about at this part of the country. Some people are surprised to find out that our bears don't hibernate. You know, oh yeah, we have bus tours in December and January, and there'll be a bear standing along the side of the road. And the benefit is, with that vegetation gone, they stick out pretty obviously when they're out there. So people are surprised to see that. I also like, we do a lot of winter birding here. We have large numbers of sunflocks that winter over in the swamp, particularly robins, and many of the species of blackbirds come here, sometimes by the millions. And so we still do a lot of birding here in the wintertime. The species change, but again, your opportunities for seeing them are so much greater. If you've tried to bird here in the middle of the summer and have been very frustrated with that fact, you know, the winter is a great time. And if you look at our calendar, we do have some birding opportunities coming up. In jest, we named our winter bird walks the Lousy Bird Walks. And I love it when people call up and sign up for them and they go, I think I want to sign up for a lousy bird walk. And I'm like, yeah. And, you know, so we have to explain, why do we call them that? Well, in the winter, you don't know what you're going to see on a winter bird walk. So we sort of
do that in
kindly said they're lousy bird walks, but there's always something, you know. And like I said, your opportunities for seeing are better. For folks that are a little uncomfortable with mosquitoes or snakes, you know, they're no longer an issue when it's cold outside. So you know, don't let that keep you away. So we always have a good time. We have several of them coming up. We have one actually this coming, November, the end of November. And then we have the next one is coming up in December 21st. And then we have one in January on,
I think it's the 18th.
18th.
Yes, ma'am.
And then one of our real special events that we have during the winter is we are part of the Christmas bird count. That is a national citizen science event. It's sponsored by the Audubon Society, and this is their 113th year for the Christmas bird count. So we are pleased to be a part of that.
Now, with the Christmas bird count, what takes place and who can participate in an event like you're talking about there?
Well, it's an all-day event, so you need to be able to be out in the forest all day. So that's our requirement on you, you know. And if you feel like you can handle that, then we'll take care of the expertise. We divide people that register up into teams based upon their abilities, how comfortable they are with identifying birds. We blend them so you have some real experts in with people that are just new. It's a great way to learn about birding. Experienced birders are some of the best people in the world to be out in the forest with because they're so good about sharing their knowledge with you. And then we go out and we're divided up and we disperse all over the refuge, and you're given like a territory and you count every bird and identify every bird that you see all day long. We come back at the end of the day and compile it, and then that information is sent into the Audubon Society, and it becomes part of that national survey in the middle of the winter. So, you know, it's real science, but we can't do it unless we have volunteers to help us.
So I assume there'd be no charge to anybody wanting to participate with that.
Nope, it's just we need you to sign up, call the refuge and sign up so that we know how to divide up the teams and you know what kind of numbers we're expecting.
Now the lousy bird walks that you mentioned, is there any fee for that, and how can someone go about getting involved in one of those events?
You can call and register, so if there becomes a bad weather issue or something, we can get a number and get in touch with you.
Right.
But if not, you can just show up. We have those at Washington Ditch entrance on the days that are listed, and they begin at 7:30 in the morning, and they last about an hour, hour and a half.
So real low impact,
low
other than the fact that you're out in
and they're great for young people, to get them up and interested in nature in the wintertime.
Very nice, very nice. Now, one other event I know coming up before the end of the calendar year is the Winter Owl Prowl. Now, that's actually between Christmas and New Year's. I believe the 27th is the date on that. What takes place with that?
It's a very popular event, and this is, I think we're on our 6th or 7th year having that. And we have that at the Jericho entrance because we can accommodate larger crowds up there at that time. And we meet right about sunset, and everyone comes up. You need to be wrapped up well. We don't walk very far, so it's not like you have to worry about that, but it is on gravel roads, so people with not wheelchairs, but strollers and stuff, that it's a little difficult for that. And we go out and we'll call the owls in. Again, you get the benefit in the winter because when they come flying in, now you can see them up in the treetops, where in the summer, a lot of times we're listening to them and talking to them, but we can't actually see them, where in the winter it's much easier to see them. So that's another fun event. And again, you never know what's going to happen. We often have a bear go across the trail, or there'll be other wildlife out there that we just sort of identify and teach people about whatever pops up.
It's always a learning opportunity, I think, every time you come visit, because as you said, you never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to experience. And again, every different time of the year, you're going to have a different environment as far as how that environment's changing and adapting to that given season. So again, it's a really unique opportunity in that respect. We're going to take a short commercial break and come back with more from the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge when we return. Welcome back to On the Scene, joined again by Dolores Freeman, Visitor Services Specialist here at the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. And of course, we've been talking about the swamp and the refuge and all the great activities and things that are going on. Even though it's fall and winter, still a lot happening out here. And before the commercial break, we were talking about the Winter Owl Prowl. And one thing, just to note, that event is free and open to the public, correct?
Yes, it is.
So again, that's a great opportunity there. Talk about some of the owls and the species that you would find here and people may experience if they come out for the Owl Prowl.
Well, usually we focus on 3 species of owls that we typically might encounter during our owl prowls. We start the evening just because they have different times of day when they prefer to hunt, so it's often easier for them to us to communicate with them, based upon their normal time schedule. So we start usually with a screech owl. And the screech owls, we have red phase and a gray phase in the swamp. And they're a very small owl. And so they make a little trio-like owl sound. A lot of people, if you heard them, you might not even recognize that that is an owl. So we'll call them, and sometimes they're usually low in the vegetation, so it's easy for us to see them if they're right along the trails where we are. After that, we try to call in our barred owl. And the barred owl is a larger owl. He's sort of the middle-sized owl that we have here. And he's the "who cooks for you" owl. And then he does this really crazy monkey call. And once you hear the monkey call sound, most people, the first time they see it, you can just see the astonishment on their face because it is so loud and it is so un-owl-like, so they're like, really, that's an owl? And it's like, yeah, it is, So, and especially if we get 2 or 3 of them to come in around us, they start calling at each other and making a lot of commotion. So they're very entertaining. The largest owl that sometimes comes in, and he is the great horned owl, and he is sort of the top predator in the evening. So we don't really like to invite him in until everyone else has had their opportunities to perform on stage, because the other 2 may be his dinner. We haven't ever had that happen right there in front of us, but that's just the nature of things in the swamp. So Usually what happens though is when the horned owl comes in, and especially if he starts surveying the area, the other owls will get very quiet and they stop moving around.
Got it.
So he's usually our showstopper at the end of the night. But you know, it's very interesting. A lot of people have heard owls, you know, in this area in Virginia and northeastern North Carolina.
Sure.
You know, owls are pretty common, and so, but people hear them, but they don't often see them.
Correct.
You know, so it's nice to be able to, the biologist is there, and so, you know, he can give you lots of information. And while we're waiting for the owls to show up, we try to educate people on, you know, the life cycles of the owls in the forest.
I gotcha.
So it's informative, but it's entertaining also.
Indeed. Well, it sounds like a whole lot of fun, a hoot, so to speak.
It's a hoot.
I had to get worked in
yeah,
there.
okay.
Sorry about that. Bad joke, bad joke. But as far as during the fall and the winter and really year-round, people, as far as access and things that they can get to and experience here at the refuge, Lake Drummond, as far as being located where it is, as far as people being able to get access to that, how does that work? And that people can still drive out there and get the day pass, or the permit, I should say.
Yep.
Talk about that process and what people can view. And of course, you're driving your vehicle, so you're in the nature, so you have opportunities to see all kinds of things there.
Yes. It has become a very popular thing to do when you come here. The railroad ditch entrance has become our auto tour.
Okay.
And now we have an electronic gate. In the past, people that came here knew they had to get out, open the gate, and you know, it was a little more complicated. Now there's an electronic gate and it's up. And it remains up. It opens up in the mornings at 7:30, Monday through Fridays. And it goes down at 3 o'clock, but you only have to be out till 4. It'll let you back out. And there's, hanging on the gate as you go in, there's a self-permit that you look it over, fill it out, and you put that in the window of your vehicle. You drop it back in, there's a wood duck box. You can drop it in on your way out.
Okay.
And so there's also at the trailhead, we have a new brochure that will tell you about everything that you would see along the railroad ditch entrance. So it's like a print guided tour for you, showing you highlights along the way, why you might want to stop somewhere, what makes it special, and lead you all the way to the lake and back. So that is very popular. Also in the wintertime, Washington Ditch Trail, the boardwalk there, it's a 3/4 mile boardwalk. That is another very popular place. If you want to get out and walk a little bit, most people can handle the 3/4 of a mile walk, and there's even benches along the way. So if you want to stop and take a break, or if you need to stop and take a break, you have that opportunity. Also, that's an elevated wooden trail, so even if it's been muddy or rainy or something, once it stops, it's dry and you can walk it.
Exactly.
So it's a good place to get outside and take that quick walk, and but you don't have to worry about the mud and all of that in the wintertime.
Now, of course, we're taping at the refuge headquarters.
Yes.
And when is this facility open?
It's open Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock to 4.
Okay.
We do have a small gift area here that our supporting group, the Great Dismal Swamp Coalition, sells T-shirts and gift items. The T-shirts and sweatshirts are a very popular Christmas item around here. You have people visit and they want something that say Great Dismal Swamp on it. This is a place to get it.
All right, and of course, you also have a staff here. So if anybody would have any questions about the swamp, or as far as maybe if they're looking to experience something, they could certainly come here during operating hours and talk with staff. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. We have a young lady who sits at the front desk, and her specific role is to help visitors when they come in.
Okay.
So yes, we do.
Good deal. And of course, I think one of the key components about the swamp and the headquarters and everything rolled into one is the education aspect of the fact that I think every event that you talked about, it's not just experiencing it. It's not just the wow factor as far as with the owls and things, but there's also the education component. And I guess this is really it's sort of like a drive-through laboratory almost in a sense of that. If you could just talk about the education component that you and your coworkers, as far as what your mission is to work with the public and make them better informed by the time they leave during their visit.
Well, that is our mission. My mission as a visitor services specialist for the National Wildlife Service is to educate the public. we sort of consider this as like an outdoor classroom.
Right.
You know, if you're on the trail, there's not a facility, but the trail itself is your outdoor classroom.
Right.
Well, you know, we have school groups that come, and, you know, the teachers, it's a natural setting, and so it's easy to interest the children in, you know, what is really taking place
Sure.
out here. It's not artificially set up, you
Right.
know, there's nothing staged.
Right.
So what you're seeing is really how nature works.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, but, you know, to children who are from the city or don't get that experience, they need the information
Sure.
to make that a real experience for them. And once you open their eyes, you know, hopefully you have introduced them to something that they'll enjoy their
Right.
whole life.
That's right. And of course, I guess it's one thing to read about something in a book
Yes.
or look at it on the internet. It's another thing to experience it, which you definitely have that opportunity out
Yes.
here. And then, like we've talked about several times, the fact that every time you come, there's probably something different that you're going to
Different.
experience.
Yes, yes. Very seldom will it be the same experience.
Sure.
And particularly if you come during, you know, one time during each of the 4 seasons, you're going to get a vastly different experience when you come out here.
And I know we talked a little bit off camera before we started taping. We talked about the possibility of seeing bears. And you mentioned the fact that the bears that are here really are not hibernating per se. But and again, there's no promise that every time you come here you're going to see a bear, and it may be just scurrying across the road, or perhaps, like you mentioned, a cub up in a tree or something. But as far as interacting with the bears and things, this is a different setting than you might find in some other national parks with regard to what resources are here and what may attract the bears and how they react to humans and interaction with that, right?
That's right. I say our bears are typically very shy, and if you see one up a tree or scurrying across the road,
Right.
that's your trophy shot.
Right.
That's what you're going to get to see.
Sure.
Even in Virginia, if you go to places up along Skyline Drive and you're camping up there, sometimes bears become a nuisance, and there is a lot of people-bear interaction that's not always positive. But here, because we don't have camping here, we don't have designated picnic areas here. You're welcome to come and tailgate picnic if you want,
Right.
but bears don't have a spot that they go to and they know, oh, there's a person, you know, they have something I may want.
Indeed.
And so we don't have that, so I don't think we have those other problems here.
Exactly.
You know, our bears function more naturally,
Right.
and their respect for the human is pretty obvious because they're extremely shy.
Indeed. Okay, well, interesting. I mean, we learned something. Again,
Yeah.
talk about education. We're learning something here today about, again, the resource that we have here. And Dolores, if someone's watching this program and they would like to get more information, what is the number for the headquarters that they could call if they'd like to talk with someone?
Sure. It's 757-986-3705.
Okay. And again, the headquarters is open. What are the hours? One more time?
We're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4.
8 to 4. And again, you also have a great resource with your website. We'll be sure to
Yes.
have that web address
Okay,
on the screen.
great.
So again, if you're looking for what events are happening, whether it be in the fall or winter, or if you're looking ahead to spring and summer, the events are there. And it also gives you a great layout as far as the refuge as a whole and all the different entrances and the things that you can access throughout. So again, a great tool to use if you're planning a visit out here. Certainly, you know, if you want to come to the headquarters and talk to staff, that's a great opportunity. But again, another way to do some research so you can ask, you know, some very good questions and get good responses. So again, the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge, a great opportunity year-round. And I want to thank Dolores again for joining us today to talk about this unique resource found here, at least a good chunk of it found here in the city of Suffolk, but also throughout the Hampton Roads and the, the northeastern part of North Carolina.
Yes.
Got to get my geography down there. So again, thank you, Dolores, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this edition of On the Scene. We'll see you next time.